Window and Duties Bill, not the bill that we're currently on. This was a bill previously. I've called Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the call on the Trade Safeguards Measures Bill, which was introduced in 2008. And Mr. Chair, can I, just on behalf of New Zealand First, also reassert the fact that this bill was brought to this House during a sad, dark time in this Parliament when New Zealand First wasn't in this House between 2008 and 2011. And it has taken close to 6 years now to be back in this House. But now that we're back in the House in a more enlightened time with New Zealand First here to represent the interests of New Zealanders first, I'm very pleased to speak on this bill. It is somewhat ironic that I sit on the Local Government and Environment Committee, and the government is very quick to criticise local government for supposedly having what you could regard as being inadequacies in terms of its efficiency in terms of local government according to the government's agenda. To therefore see a bill like this that's taken 6 years to get to this point would actually sort of raise the point that, well, if central government takes 6 years for a flimsy piece of paper that is only 23 pages long to take 6 years to get through this House, then much of the finger pointing from central government at local government for not doing its job adequately is certainly not founded on any fact at all. Mr. Chairman, this bill is about putting in place safeguards basically to ensure that there isn't dumping on our market. It's basically an anti-dumping bill, so that if an international organisation were exporting to this country and were seen to be dumping goods here in this market, that the Minister would have the right to intervene. And this is in accordance with WTO rules, and to meet WTO recommendations and standards, that this be implemented. And therefore, New Zealand First supports it, because we do feel that that's right and proper, that if New Zealand is seen as a dumping ground, and there have been instances where, because we're an island nation, because we are away from many of the major markets, we have on the odd occasion been seen as a place to conveniently move goods to get rid of them, because we don't have common borders, land borders with other countries, and therefore goods can be offloaded into this market and gotten rid of without too much effect on any other neighbouring markets. And therefore this is a good measure to give the Minister the ability to move in with safeguards if such an occurrence occurred. Having said that, the question does have to be asked, if this was such a good measure and it was brought in by the Honourable Leanne Dalzell, introduced in 2008 under the former Labour government, and obviously with support of the New Zealand First Party at that time, why has the national government taken all this time to bring in something that basically does safeguard local industry in New Zealand from dumping? And it is a sad indictment on this government, and it's no criticism of the current minister, because the current minister has obviously been given a hospital pass on this one, and he's picked up the ball and is running with it, and good on the Honourable Craig Foss for doing that. But it's an indictment on his predecessors, whoever they were, those ministers, that this has taken this time to get through the House, because this measure does give a level of protection to our industry, to our manufacturers, to our local producers in New Zealand, to stop international dumping on our market. And New Zealand First has been very adamant that we do have to ensure that this government does protect what happens here with our industries in New Zealand. And it is surprising that this government has paid lip service to that by not bringing this bill through the House much quicker than it has. And it would be interesting to have this quantified, and it would be very interesting to see what instances may have occurred in those years intervening between 2008 and 2014, And it would be very interesting in terms of this to see what effects may have been on some industries. We have seen industries closing down in New Zealand, Mr Chair.
Andrew Williams.
We've seen industries closing down in this country and moving offshore, moving their manufacturing offshore. We have seen companies in New Zealand close to the wind in terms of their economic viability. And, Mr Chair, it would be interesting to see that in the 6-year period, whether, had this bill been in effect in 2009, when the National Party by that stage was in government, or 2010, whether some of the trade and industry in New Zealand would have been better protected as a result of having this bill in place. Mr Chair, New Zealand First has always said that we support good policy and we will oppose bad policy. In this instance, we believe this is good policy, this is good for New Zealand, this is good for the economy of New Zealand. We believe it is in the interest in terms of our WTO commitments globally in terms of ensuring that the right rules and protections are in place on the global stage. And New Zealand First will therefore be supporting this and commending this to the House.
Dr David Clark.
Mr Chair, I was rather hoping the Minister